Oh, there we go. Can you hear me now, Zoomers? Okay, they hear us.
Yeah.
So the poor Zoomers, they're probably not going to see us, or do they? Do they see, or do they not see the screen?
This is what they see.
Okay, so they're not going to see the screenshot.
Oh, they
or the
shared
presentation.
Yeah, I shared the screen.
Oh, so they see both.
Yes,
Perfect.
they see both. So this is just about your line as far as the screen.
Okay, cool.
Kind of midway, and then let me just make sure this works. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so I do this one.
Right and left. Yeah.
Cool.
You can go back.
Could you by chance check the chat? Because I do want to have kind of a discussion. So if people say anything, maybe you can kind of keep me posted on what they're talking about. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and get started, guys. Thank you everyone for coming. I'm super excited to get to teach this. When they first reached out and asked if I would do a Meet the Masters, they said it would be on wealth building, which I was stoked about. Wealth building is something that's really, really exciting for me. And then they followed up and said it would be wealth building with real estate. And then I was even more excited because if I have any two passions, it's wealth building and real estate. So getting to put the two of them together is really exciting. So I'm hoping for this class that we kind of have quite a bit of discussion. You're going to have to try to keep me out of the weeds a little bit because I tend to get real deep into those weeds, and I want to kind of do an overview so we can get through everything and kind of have a little bit of a bird's eye view. But then I would love to be able to have like further discussion, answer any specific questions, and get into some more mechanics of real estate investing. So just to start out, I kind of want to poll the audience a little bit and find out where we're at as far as, do we have people who are already investing in real estate, who've been thinking about it for a long time, who have never done anything, and kind of get an idea. So is there anyone in the room who already owns some real estate investments? Okay, how many homes do you own?
Well,
Sorry, I'm putting you on the spot.
so we have two rentals, and then my husband and I properties that
Like commercial real estate? Okay, great. And I'm sorry, what's your name? Elizabeth Stockton? Scott, nice to meet you. I don't think I've met you before. Okay, so Elizabeth's done quite a bit. So good job. Okay.
I just got my real estate license.
Oh, well, congratulations and welcome. Are you here at KW South Valley?
Yeah, just
Awesome.
starting.
Good. Well, welcome. There's lots of great opportunity in the market right now. Anyone else own some rental properties? Or any properties? A rental, Tony?
I'll say 1.5. A travel rental.
Oh, great. You got a condo for your son.
Yeah, we bought it for 200,000. We gutted it, renovated. And the only reason I put that half in is because that's what's
Oh, cool. Cool. So did you like co-sign, or like do you partially own it with your
I
son?
gave him the money to get in.
Oh,
I didn't
cool.
co-sign. I didn't want to get on the mortgage on it. I gave him money to get in.
Cool.
People that they might be like,
So you're kind of helping him kind of oversee and figure it out.
the plan is like, okay, like,
Love it.
we're gonna keep it in the future, and we're gonna get you something else later on.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's the rates, and that's how it's happening.
Yeah, awesome. Love it. Love it. Anyone else have any experience? Tammy? No experience, but
Kenya.
you probably need some mic support, huh? Is that what Delise was going to tell us?
No, I'm sorry. I'm driving, so I can't raise my hand electronically. I just want to know if you wanted to know about my rentals.
If what?
You wanted to know about what rentals I have.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Tammy was just about to say something, and then we'll make sure we get to Delise next.
Okay, sorry.
We got her on the mic now, so you guys aren't left out.
So I have one that I have money down on. It's my first one, and it's
Yay!
going to be built. So it's a ways out.
Okay, that's exciting. A new build. I think you've told me about that. Okay, Delise, tell us about what you've got going on.
Okay, I have 5 doors. I have a duplex in Sugar House. I have a long-term rental and a vacation rental, 2 different properties in St. George. And then we have a long-term rental out in Northwest Arkansas in a resort town.
Okay.
And then Dan's my husband, we're looking to buy another one this year before the year's out, hopefully. We try to do about one a year. So
Awesome.
5 years between our first one, between our duplex and our second purchase, which was a 5-plex. But we've since sold that. And then we've tried to do like one a year since then.
Okay, perfect. So you've got a lot of, and even some diversity going on because you got vacation rentals, long-term rentals, which is really exciting. Okay, cool.
Multifamily, yeah.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. Did I miss anyone that wanted to share? So, okay, well, so I almost feel not qualified to teach this class sometimes. So Landon and I, my husband's here in the room, we started investing in real estate in 2017. So we're 5 years in.
We can't hear you on the mic anymore. Sorry.
Okay. Okay, I'm not sure when I trailed off, but what I was just getting to is wanting to talk about why, and specifically why wealth. And I'm noticing the time. I think I might need to hurry. But let's have a little bit of a conversation about wealth building and kind of try to get past the taboo of talking about wealth and why it's important. And I'll give you just a quick answer for me. The why wealth is here on the screen. There's something covering it, but there it is. So for me, it started with honestly having kids. I had my first kid and I was working a 9-to-5 job, and I was rushing from, home to get the kid to daycare, to get to work, to pump all day, to get back to the daycare, to pick him up on time, to get home, to make dinner, to put him to bed, and start all over again. And I was like, wow, is this really life? Is this what we're here for? Is this how we live? Is this how people have been doing it all this time? So that for me was this huge, like, I have got to find a way to make money that isn't like exchanging my time for money. So I went on this just searching of like investing. I didn't even know what investing. I was like, do I invest in stocks? Do I invest like what is this? Which of course, if you do a little bit of research, you're inevitably going to end up at real estate. But anyway, my why was strong. I was in pain. I was not enjoying this life that we suddenly had created where I wasn't getting to spend time with my little baby. What are some whys that you guys have? Elizabeth?
I would just say time. Yeah, time is precious. So I think, yeah, when you have wealth, you have time. And also, you can do more good for other people when you have more wealth. Like you can choose who to help and who to, what kind of programs you want to help. And so I'd say to help more people and to have more time.
That's a big why. That's awesome. That's great. Anyone else have anything they want to add? Jessica?
Yeah, so I was just gonna say for me, I felt like I didn't have any like the options to do certain things. Like I wanted to put my kids in piano, horse riding lessons, things like that. But the amount of money that costs per month was just not an option. And I hated that I couldn't give my kids those opportunities because of that. So
Beautiful. I love the opportunities, time and opportunities. Those are probably my big whys too. Anyone have anything else they want to add? Okay, Kimber.
Bad timing. I just took a bite. Similar to all of these, I think for me, a big shift that I want to make is that I'm a big worker bee, and that's great. Where it's bad is you go, okay, I'm going to work really hard and get this, and work really hard and get this, and so you're constantly hitting goals and you're constantly getting to do things, but you're doing and then getting and then doing and then getting, and then really it's that feeling of you're never a few steps ahead of yourself. And I am big about like being able to go on vacation, remove myself from my worker bee situation, because I actually love to work and there's such a thing as too much of anything. And so I just want that life where we just go on, 4 vacations a year, and it's a thing. It's not let's save up for next year's vacation. I don't want to live in that world. And, I feel like I kind of currently am. So that's a big part of my whole wealth thing.
I think we got some really great answers out of this. And if you haven't already established your why, I would encourage you, like, hopefully you're taking notes or mentally or on paper, but jot down some of these whys, jot down this life that you're looking for. And like keep it present because it's super important. Oh, I have a clicker. I don't need to go to the computer. Okay, so I also want to talk about some barriers. Can I move this thing? Let's see. So that you can see. Oh, okay. There we go. Okay. I don't want to spend too much time on this. So I'm actually not going to open this one up for discussion. I'm just going to chat real quick and ask you guys to think about it internally. So barriers, some of the barriers, one of the biggest ones that I think, you know what, I am going to open this up. I'm going to hit the mindset one on myself though. The barrier that I already kind of alluded to earlier is a stigma. And maybe this is just me. I don't think so though. The stigma around wealth. Like sometimes, oh, the top 1%, oh, the people and the wealthy, the wealthy people and the things that they're doing. I think that in society, we have a little bit of a hesitation or some sort of negative feeling about being wealthy, that there's something wrong or bad about it. And I just can't help but think about the one thing, Gary Keller, hopefully you guys are familiar with that book. He talks about the myth that we need to overcome, that big is bad. And I think that when we've framed our why and we really know what it is, we can use that to overcome this big is bad mentality. But stepping aside from mindset, what other barriers are we running into when it comes to real estate investing? Kimber and I were talking just a little bit earlier about kind of a self-sabotage type thing where we kind of want to stay in our comfort zone. It's scary. We don't really want to step into that unknown. Is there anything else that you guys are encountering as you're considering or thinking about or wanting to invest in real estate, but you're not? Don't know where to start? Great. And I'm sorry, I don't know your name. Stephanie. Yep. Money. That's a big one. Great. Absolutely. We'll talk more about that. And that's come up in conversation as I've been chatting with people here. Any other big one that we want to make sure we hit on today? Okay. I keep forgetting that I got to carry this thing with me. Okay. So if you're all here because you're probably already convinced that real estate is a good place to be investing. So I'm going to briefly go over this. And we talk about the why wealth, but now the question, why real estate? And this is where we have 100 reasons to convince you to invest in real estate. And maybe we need to remind ourselves so that we can make that move. So I'll try to be quick on these ones, but real estate, I don't know of any other investment class that you can buy with someone else's money. I mean, there's got to be some, I guess. You can start businesses with the bank's money. But if you go buy an Amazon stock, let's say you want $500,000 of Amazon stock, how much of that do you need? How much money do you need in your pocket to do that? All $500,000. In real estate, we have a huge advantage that we can get it financing on our real estate. And we've got a lender in the house, Tony Farias, he can help you out with that. Also, if you want $500,000 of Amazon stock, but you want to get a deal, you can go in there and ask if you can buy it for $475. Nope. Real estate, you can actually buy under market because there are a lot of reasons why someone might be willing to sell it under market value. Also, your ability to impact the profit on your investment, that's huge. I mean, again, you invest in Amazon stock and you call up, was it Jeff Bezos? Is that his name? Hey, Jeff, could we just make this one change to the company? Because I think that would really help my profits. You might have an amazing idea, but tough luck. Like you have no control over what's going to happen with that company. But when you own real estate, you actually have the option. I think the office is calling me. That's weird. I'm here. Anyway, you can directly control it and you can force appreciation. you can go in and renovate a beat up house and automatically increase the appreciation. We also have an appraiser in the room. So just so you guys know, if we have more detailed questions we want to get to later. Also, it's very versatile. There are endless ways to invest in real estate, long-term, short-term, vacations. Delise mentioned quite a few that she's got going on. Land, commercial, residential. You can develop land. You can do tax liens. Like there's so many ways. Wholesaling. So there's just endless opportunities, and everyone has different strengths and personality things that, one area of real estate might suit you a little bit better. Also, real estate is low risk. And in this case, I'm a little bit more pointing at residential real estate, but some companies, they build a company on a need that kind of goes out of style. But living in houses is not going out of style, and I can't imagine that it will. And also houses are insurable. You can insure your investment that way. And there's multiple exit strategies. So maybe you go into an investment with a specific strategy and it doesn't pan out, but there are usually multiple different ways that you can exit without too much harm. Limitless potential. I mean, in the last 5 years, we've gathered 9 houses. If I had more bandwidth, we would do a whole bunch more, and no one's stopping me except for myself. So you can buy 1, you can buy 10, you can buy thousands. You can continue to build upon the skills that you've already learned and the processes that you've already established and grow it exponentially. Also, a big one that I think sometimes we don't talk about enough is the tax benefits. And we're going to dig into that a little bit more. And then obviously great returns. We're going to dig into that actually right now. So you guys are in this class because it's called wealth building. So I am going to hone in on what I believe, what I have done, and what I believe is the biggest wealth building opportunity in real estate, and that's buy and hold. Maybe there are other ways, and someone can show me how they've made way more money or built more wealth doing some other strategy. But to me, this is where the money is at, and that's because there are 4 things going on in a long-term real estate investment that are bringing you wealth. So like on the left side, we're looking at cash flow and depreciation. On the right side, we're looking at appreciation and principal pay down. So these 2 forms on the left side, those are going to put capital in your pocket each year. Those things on the right side, appreciation and principal pay down, that's your long-term wealth building right there. And it's nice that you get both. It's well-rounded here. So cash flow, obviously, you know what that is. It's the money that you get each month, the difference between your expenses and your revenue. Depreciation, well, actually, we're going to skip that one because it's a little bit more detailed. Appreciation, also pretty obvious. And actually, I'll skip real quick over to, this is the average sales price of houses sold in the United States going back to, 1960 to 2020. We're talking less than 100,000, like way less than 100,000, like $20,000 in 1960. A property that would have been purchased way back then is now on average, over $500,000. So if you're holding onto that property for that long, which is really long, you probably aren't going to hold any property that long. Yes, Jake. Okay, Jake's great grandma bought their home for $20,000. Do they still live in it? They sold it for $180, and they bought it at $20. When did they buy it? I'm curious. I'm like, yeah. Okay, cool. Well, so this kind of just demonstrates the ongoing curve. I mean, we do see some dips. We see a great housing market crash, but you can see that it recovered just fine. So, I mean, obviously the point is that the long-term real estate is always appreciating. It's going back to this depreciation. Who's familiar with this? Kimber is, my hubby is, Stephanie. Okay, just in general, what this is. So, so depreciation, I'm not an accountant, by the way. Talk to your accountant for specific advice on this. I'm a real estate agent. I'm trained in the marketing of real estate. But depreciation, what this is that when you buy a home, it's an asset. It's a physical asset. And according to the IRS, that asset, just like your car, is depreciating over time. Like it's physically depreciating to where they assume that after a certain period of time, it is no longer functional. Kind of like, a computer, if you ever worked in corporate world, and they'll depreciate it off their books after so many years, like this means nothing to us. It doesn't have any value. So they do the same thing in real estate. And then keep in mind, this is only for the physical asset. So we're not talking about the actual land, but the structure of the home that you purchase. So that is depreciated, assuming that it's going to be completely worthless in 27 and a half years. which is very counter to reality, right? But it's great for your taxes. So every year you get to depreciate a portion of the value of that home on your taxes, which decreases the tax liability that you have, the taxable income. I'm going to break this down in real numbers if this is kind of not computing. This is huge. I mean, because that's one property. Imagine if you own thousands of properties, how it can decrease the amount of income that you are liable to pay taxes on every year. And then, of course, the fourth one, somewhat obvious, but sometimes overlooked, that mortgage that's being paid, you leverage the property, you bought it, that mortgage that's being paid is being paid with someone else's money. You're not coming up with that money every month. And as you chip away at that mortgage, you are creating an equity. So between appreciation increasing in value and what you want to owe on it decreasing, then you're creating bigger and bigger piece of wealth. So let's get to the real numbers. So here is a real live example. This is a property that Landon and I bought in 2019. It's in Murray. It was kind of a dive. Well, it wasn't too bad. We went into it saying like, oh, we just need to do some carpet and paint. And if you've ever invested in real estate and you go in and you're like, I'm just gonna do carpet and paint, just plan on doing more. Because like an entire kitchen and 2 bathrooms later and moving in with a 9-month-old baby and not having a kitchen put together, it was quite rough. But we bought this house for $315,000. And our strategy, one of the things that we can talk about a little bit later, was to move into homes, to buy and move into them, live in them for a while, and then move on and buy another one, which made it very affordable. So if money is the question, you don't have a $20,000 or 20% down payment, this is a great option that I would encourage anyone who's in the position to be able to do it, to do it. So we bought it 2019, so that's 3 years ago. The cash to close was $20,000. Carpet and paint turned into a $30,000 renovation. I'm telling you, watch out for that. And it is now worth $575,000. It's rented now. It's been rented for a couple years now. We get $2,420 each month. And this one has 2 kitchens. It's an up and down. It's on one lease, but it does have 2 separate units. So some family live together in this property now. And then we put about $250 away in reserves every month. And that was one thing I wanted to mention on cash flow. When you're calculating cash flow, don't forget to account for expenses on the property. And I've got some calculators that I'll point you to help you run these types of numbers. But some people will be like, oh, look, well, the mortgage is $2,400 and the rent is $2,600. So I have $200 of cash flow. That's exciting. But you need to be sure that you're accounting for the fact that someday a water heater is going to go out, or maybe the roof needs to be replaced. And if you've already accounted for that on the front end, then it's not a stressful thing. You know it's going to happen. And when it happens, you're prepared. So that's a crucial step not to forget. So anyway, going back to our income factors here, cash flow. And we've refinanced this property, by the way, so the interest rate's really low. So we have a pretty low monthly payment on it now, but we run it for $2,420 and the mortgage is less than $1,200 minus the reserves, and we get about $1,000 of cash flow on that every month. So in a year, that is worth $12,000 to us, over $12,000. When we're looking at appreciation, I just did it kind of simple. What is it worth now? What was it worth when we bought it? That difference is $260,000 and divided it by the 3 years we've owned it. That's $86,000 a year. And I know that not every market is the market that we've experienced in the last 3 years. So this is huge. But they're still real numbers. And then depreciation. So this is what I was talking about. I actually pulled up my taxes to see what my accountant had determined, like what the schedule she was depreciating our property on. And she had assumed a $275,000 asset amount, the amount that I could depreciate. So that's taking out land and probably adding in some of the other costs and expenses. I'm pretty sure that's how that works. Again, I'm not an accountant. And then divided over 27.5 years, which basically we get to deduct from our income when we go to do our taxes every year about $10,000. So for example, if we made $100,000 in that year, the taxable income is actually only going to be $90,000 because I lost $10,000 on the value or the value of my property. It's hard to say it that way because we're like, no, the value really went up, but we're just talking about the value of the asset, maybe the physical side. So if you're in a high tax bracket, which I hope I'm going to be in, but I'm not sure this year. If I'm in a high tax bracket this year, that could be a 32% tax bracket, meaning that I'm going to save $3,200. And like I said, that's not a huge thing, but it's just one more. It's one we can't forget. If I've got 10 properties, then that's $30,000 in my pocket that otherwise wouldn't be if I didn't have real estate to depreciate. So last one is the principal pay down. Pretty obvious, but the payment times the 12 months, that's how much my tenants are paying every year to pay down my loan. So that's $13,000. So just looking at this 1 year, that property is giving me $115,000 of net worth this year. Are we sold on real estate? Does anyone else want numbers like that? Like, I want 10 more of them. So, I mean, and really this is just to demonstrate the power of real estate and some of the factors that sometimes we overlook. Okay, so we buy and hold, and then what? We especially, actually just kind of stop touching on this. Those things on the right, the appreciation, the principal pay down, like that didn't put money in my pocket. I still feel really poor right now, guys. I have $115,000 of net worth being added to my, my ledger this year, but on the right side, I don't actually get to play with that. I don't get to do anything with it. I don't have any fun toys at home. So that's why we have to get to this. And then what? Like, how do we actually get to it? First of all, don't get to it. Leave it there for as long as you possibly can. Let it continue to grow unless you have it somewhere better to put. So if you can find an investment that's going to get you better numbers, then by all means, take it and put it over there. I'm maybe kind of lazy and that's a lot of work and I have 4 kids. So I'm not constantly doing that. But if you've got the time, like review your numbers, see what kind of return you're getting and put it somewhere else if you have somewhere better. So we have so many exit strategies as we touched on earlier, so many exit strategies in real estate. So you can do a 1031 exchange. Are you guys kind of vaguely familiar with that? You can sell your property, take the gain, put it into a new property, which this is a great strategy if you want to kind of level up. You want to maybe you want to get into commercial. Maybe you want to buy multiple properties. Maybe you have so much equity in your properties and you want to put that cash to work. I mean, you can buy, sell one and buy 4 new properties so that you can build your portfolio. This is a really great way to avoid the capital gains, which is the taxes that you would normally pay on an investment. And put it into another property and just grow your wealth. So that's an awesome tool. It's important for us to consider. Also, if you just want to go play with the money, you want to go buy a boat, I don't know, you want to go do something, you can borrow against your property, and you also don't pay taxes on borrowed money. You don't pay taxes on the money that when you do a cash out refinance or do a HELOC. I don't know a lot about reverse mortgages. Tony probably does if anyone else wants to ask further into that, but that's another way that you can tap into your equity. Any quick thoughts on that, Tony?
A lot of people are living off, they don't have a lot of money, but they're paid off their home or they have a really small balance where they can go back and say, hey, you know what, I'm going to take a reverse mortgage to supplement my living every day. And they're not. And a lot of people are doing that. And especially now with all the appreciation that's happened in the last 2 years, a lot of people are looking.
If they pass away and there's a balance, they're never going to have a negative balance, right? Okay.
You're basically giving back the house to the bank in a way. You're basically just getting the money you're basically what the bank is doing, saying, hey, I'm going to pay you out now, but you're still alive. I can give you a kind of different options, either monthly or a lump sum or a combination of the two. But basically what you're doing is kind of giving it back in a way.
So when you die,
they could, or if your family can come in and say, you know what, I'm going to take care of the balance and take it on my end. So a lot of options.
that's good to know. Okay. The other option, which is one that I think is really enticing, and I've got a screen to kind of chat on that one. Well, first let me explain it. Sell with seller financing. Anyone done a seller financing deal? Was it Stephanie? Were you the seller or the buyer? Oh, you just represented. Oh, okay, just as an agent. Oh, okay, perfect. Anyone else had any experience with seller financing? We've done it on the buying side. We've purchased properties with seller financing. This is a great tool if money is one of the barriers that's in the top of your mind right now. Seller financing is basically where you can buy the property from the seller. The title transfers to you. You own the property, but instead of getting out a loan and paying a monthly payment to a random bank, you could actually be paying that. You could come up with terms and create a loan that directly from the seller. So now you're paying the seller each month your principal and interest rather than having a third party. The pros of that is that you may not have to have as strict of qualifications. Maybe you don't have the credit score or whatever else, or anyway, basically it's open game. You can kind of do what you want, which is what's nice. But on the selling side, you're done with this property, maybe you're ready to retire. You sell it with seller financing and you get to be the one to collect the interest and the principal. So you're not only getting the entire principal in your pocket, but you're going to start making interest. And so I don't know how well you can really see this, but I just wanted to demonstrate real quick the power, the what you can make off of this in the first year. Say if you sell a property for $500,000. Is that what I put it? Well, that's the loan amount. So maybe maybe you're selling it for 550 or I don't know, but loan amount is $500,000 over, even if you, and sometimes you can change these terms to make it more favorable. This is a 30-year amortization, but if you amortized it over a shorter period, it would be even more favorable for you as a seller. At a 6% interest rate, every month your buyer, the person who bought the property from you, is going to pay you that monthly payment up there, that $3,000. After, is this one by one? This is a year. This right here, this first line is year one of the payments that they gave you. $29,000, $30,000 essentially is just interest. They still owe you $493,000. They've only taken $6,000 off of the balance that they owe you, but you've pocketed $30,000. And this exit strategy, some people might even just do a few years because amortization is more favorable in the first few years of carrying the loan. So maybe you do it for 5 years, and in those 5 years, each year you're making close to $30,000 just in interest. And then you can sell it, or you can have them pay it off. They can get traditional financing. Maybe they needed a 5-year runway to buy the property. Like, that is a huge opportunity right there. Any questions about that or anything else we've covered so far? Jessica? You're talking about as a buyer, how do you do it? So, I mean, you can always offer it. So we do have the option as agents on the MLS to include that as one of the terms. We can do FHA, conventional, seller financing. So you can just go in the MLS and search for those. But you can also find off-market deals and offer this to a seller, which we've done. We had something off market, one of the Arizona properties that we bought, and we just asked, it needed to be fixed up. That's another reason why you might want to use it, because no one was going to loan on it because it was really a dive. So we bought it from the seller, we put a small down payment and then made payments to them until we were able to fix it up, get it into a condition that was financeable, and then get traditional financing on it. Yeah. So it's just another tool, right? Because that's all this is just finding a problem or having a problem and finding the solutions with the different tools we have available to us. Of course, you can always just sell it too. I mean, there's not anything too exciting about that. You pay capital gains. If you haven't lived in that home for 2 of the last 5 years, then you're gonna pay capital gains on that property. Or maybe a better option is build generational wealth, leave a legacy. When we talk about this depreciation that I've been talking about, you can depreciate that property over 27.5 years. Then, well, man, this gets a little bit complicated, this whole tax situation. How do I keep it simple? If you sell it after you've already depreciated away, you're going to have to pay a lot of capital gains. If you leave it behind and your children inherit this property, when they inherit it, it receives what they call a step up in basis, meaning that when they sell it, there's actually no gain. And if they sell it immediately, if they now hold on to it for 10 years and it experiences some gain, then there's going to be, what do they call that? Basis? There's going to be, I don't know. This is getting a little bit technical, but just know that is a great way to avoid ever paying taxes. So you can have it's a really powerful tool here. You can 1031 exchange your properties and up and up and up until you have millions of dollars of real estate that you've never paid any tax on. Your kids can inherit it and never pay any tax. I mean, I don't know about inheritance tax, but I know that they're not going to pay capital gains. Again, talk to an accountant. Yes, I think there are a few different options, but I think it's generally 180 days. Yeah, you have to identify and close. So you have like a relinquished property and then the replacement property. And when you close, oh man, I've been to the CE class, but I always forget it. You close on the property, you need within a certain time period, you need to identify the replacement property. And there's a few different like rules for how you can do that. If this is something you're interested in, definitely talk to like a title company who has a 1031 like intermediary. That's a designation. They're the ones who actually have to do it. So you can't just like sell a property and hold the money in your pocket and then go buy it and say, oh, I 1031 exchanged. This is a formal process that has to be done like and thought out and started before you even sell it. So the funds need to be held with the intermediary and then only used to buy the property. So you don't ever touch it. Oh, let's start here and then I'll come over here. And I'm sorry, I didn't get your name. Travis, nice to meet you.
I think you answered this. I'm just trying to clarify. So I own a property and I can depreciate it every year, and then I die and leave it to my kids, and they don't have to pay taxes still, even though I depreciate it.
So what happens, because right now the basis is what we're talking about. When we depreciate, like the basis starts, say, right around the purchase price. I think there's a little give and take there. Right around the purchase price. Every time you depreciate it, the basis is now decreasing. And so when you sell it, the calculation is how much to sell it for minus the basis. There's all your gain. But when your kids inherit it, it gets a step up in basis and it comes back to the value of the day that they received it. The basis does. And again, if they hold on to it, then from then on, any gain that they're receiving would be taxable. Yeah. Yeah, there you go. It's an opportunity for us as real estate agents to be like, hey, now's the time to cash out and take that money. But again, all of these particulars, like taxes are complicated. So make sure that if you're planning on employing any of these tools, talk to your accountants that knows your situation really well. And then you had another comment?
I was gonna comment that I've heard that the 1031 is being played with by the government right now. Yeah, and it's not a happy thing.
Yeah. I don't actually know anything more. Anyone else have thoughts on that or any news on that? I've heard that they're playing with it too. And then I've heard that it's not going to happen, but we can't predict. Yeah. Yeah. Who knows? Yeah. When it's an issue, I guess then we address it. Cause until then, I don't know. Maybe we need to vote, get out and vote. I guess that's the answer. Okay. The big question that I think a lot of people kind of the getting into action part of this. When do we start investing on real estate? How many of you wanted to buy real estate 5 years ago? And did you? No. Everybody says it.
Down in St. George, like fixing up his places. And my husband kept saying 2 years ago or 3, he was like, honey, we really need to buy something with my brother and sister-in-law because they were buying very cheap, ugly rentals there. And I was like, they are just not cute enough. And he's like, you do not understand. And I'm like, just this morning I said to him, you remember last time when we were down there 2 years ago? Because Josh sent me pictures and they fixed them up. And I'm like, I just want to die. He's like, yeah, they're making bank. And I'm so sick because he said to me 2 years ago, we should just, it doesn't matter because I want to, in my mind, live in them or like visit them and it didn't matter. Like, why?
So lesson here, don't buy houses based on how cute they are. And in fact, well, actually, if you are going to use that, then the uglier, the better. So, because then like we talked about, you can force appreciation by making it cute and appealing to a buyer. So yes, everyone said it. I've collected 9 houses I guess 8 of them in the last 5 years. And I'm still like, oh, you said St. George, last year at the beginning of the year, I wanted to buy a St. George property and I didn't pull the trigger. So here we are thinking, oh, why didn't I buy more? And I kind of have that, like, there's never enough mentality, which we have to be careful about when we're doing wealth building. Like, we got to go back to our why, like, wait, why am I doing this? It's not just this competitive, like, I want to own 100 houses just for fun. But anyway, my husband's usually taming me like, well, Kenya, this is why we didn't buy this house because we did this and this and this and this. And I'm like, but still, we should have bought the house. So don't wait to buy real estate. Buy real estate and wait. And the best time to buy real estate was always 5 years ago. But when's the next best time? Right now. So what are we doing? Yes.
Can I interrupt for just a second?
Yes, please.
I'm just going to put a little plug in. Tonight, we're actually going to do an investment class on investing in St. George, a Zoom class.
Oh, awesome.
If there's anybody in the room that wants to do that, I've got my property manager in St. George zooming in from St.
Cool.
George to give you kind of an update on that market and
Awesome.
the difference on vacation rentals, of course, as that's a very popular thing to do down there versus long-term. He still, promotes long-term as your best value. But if anybody in the room is interested, we can get that Zoom link sent out because that's tonight at 7.
Yeah. I wonder what's the best way to get that link sent, like maybe to the office and see if they can.
Yeah, I can try sending it to Barry and seeing if he wants to send it out. It would just be something that, if anybody was interested in doing that, whether with clients or for themselves, that they would be welcome to join that class.
Awesome. And so that this is Daylise, if you guys don't know who that is, if you want to reach out to her directly as well. Thank you, Daylise. That's really valuable.
Sure.
So the next best time is now. So how do we begin? What do we do? How do we get started? I'm just going to kind of go backward a little bit about my history again. When we decided to invest in real estate, I told you the pain point that we were in. I was desperate. I suddenly just started researching everything that I possibly could. I picked up a book, and in the first chapter, like one of the first things that he said was exactly what we just talked about. The best time to buy real estate was 5 years ago. The next best time is now. Everyone says they wish they would have invested in real estate before. They always had a reason why they didn't, and now they wish they did. And so it submitted a challenge and said, if you're reading this book, it's because you want to buy real estate. You're already convinced. I've already convinced you. So set a goal. Buy your next investment in the next 12 weeks. This was like, I picked it up, it was like January 1st, I'm reading this book. I was like 25 weeks pregnant. So like doing the math, like I was going to be having a baby in about just a little over 12 weeks. But I came home and my sweet husband, who always puts up with my crazy ideas, and I told him, hey, we need to buy a house in the next 12 weeks. We did own a house. We were living in a house. So this was a little bit of an easy jump. What's that? I mean, he's always game. He's adventurous as me. I'm just the one that just is like, hey, let's do this thing. And so we did. We made a plan and we committed to that 12 weeks. Like, okay, we can do it. We called our realtor that we'd used before because it wasn't an agent yet. Although she'd tried to tell me like years before. Anyway, that's a different story. So yes, Kimber.
So quietly said, and 12 weeks, that made me feel different, and not in a bad different. It made me feel like that there was some sense of urgency. I think that's a big aha for me as far as I want to buy real estate. I want to build wealth in real estate. Like, we want to do something. We've done a lot of research. We may even have the funds lined up, but that timeline is like the difference, right? And that was the difference for you for the first one. I don't know if that was the first one or not, but
yeah, it was our first intentional investment. We owned a home at that point, but it was like, okay, let's do it.
So true, because I kept trying to wait for the perfect one, and I wish I would have just bought the worst one ever, and I would have been so much smarter. And he kept saying, no, let's just get this. And I was like, oh, I'm just gonna wait. And this morning, I was like, he just texted me the pictures of their houses and how much they're making on them. And I just was like, yeah. And I was like, oh,
the day that I light a fire under your butt. Buy real estate. Don't wait to buy real estate. Buy real estate and wait. The beautiful thing about long-term investments, I'm not going to go all the way back to that chart we just looked at, but even if you bought in 2007 or 8 or whatever the worst times were, you'd be looking real pretty right now. So if your strategy is to build wealth, it doesn't matter. I mean, don't buy dumb. Like, make sure you can afford it. Like, there are numbers that matter. But if you can afford real estate, buy it and don't wait. I mean, wait, you know what I mean? Don't make me clarify. I won't make myself clarify. So the next thing is have a plan. How do you prepare? We're going to talk a little, I'm going to point to some things, but how do you prepare? What resources do you need? Like, start writing these things down. Like, what was your reason that you couldn't in the beginning? What was the barrier? Write it down. and find the solution. More on that in just a second. I also feel like I need to caveat and say, this isn't just easy. It's not like you just buy a house and it's done. It's going to take sacrifice. I mean, when we did this, we weren't in real estate yet. We were broke. We didn't have a lot of money. We were just freshly out of college. Like, we had to live well below our means in order to save up money, to have down payments. And that's okay. And it's worthy. Like, we drive old cars. We don't have nice things. And it's worth it if you go back to your why. It's worth it to make these small sacrifices for your future, for your children's future, for the opportunities, for the ways that you can help people, so that you're not trading your time for your money. All the reasons that we said we wanted wealth, it's worth it.
Here today got this real estate license because my 22-year-old son started buying houses. And his third one, I was like, why am I not getting the commission? I am finding all of these houses for him. And so I'm like, I'm not really good at this part, but now I'm like, hey, we need to know how to do this because they're all really good at it. So I'm like, I'm going to be their real estate agent.
And you will get good at it. You will. Yes. Applause. And then take action. Guys, just do it. Like, once we've overcome all the barriers and we've talked about all the ways that you can do it, just do it. Like, that's the best advice. It's not going to be perfect. I mean, I didn't run my numbers perfectly well every time, but I was in a safe asset class. We're fairly safe in this asset class for the reasons we've already talked about. So then I guess to try to bring it into focus, the question that you want to answer today, what's the one thing? I'm going back to Gary Keller, Jay Papasan, love this guys. What's the one thing you can do today to ensure that you reach your goal? And maybe that question is going to take you a couple of days of mapping out your plan. And every day you ask that question, what's the one thing I can do? Is it one phone call? Is it spending 30 minutes on your game plan? Is it searching for some homes? Is it finding some partners that you can work with? Which, let's just jump to the next slide here. What are you missing? Are you missing money? Are you missing a deal? Are you missing a skill? Are you missing education or mindset? Everything is figure outable. There's a book called Everything's Figure Outable. I haven't read it, but I listened to the author and she was amazing. Have you read it?
It is figure outable.
I have a sign up in my office.
Oh my gosh. So just another aha, because you mentioned Jay Papasam. So what is going to help me is he says the one thing, right? So we're trying to figure that out. Maybe we need to get financing. We need to find the property. We need to talk to our spouse or a partner that we're going to go in business with. It gets overwhelming. I'm just speaking for myself. So he always says, Jay Papasan says in the one thing, like, line up your dominoes. And that is, the smartest advice in so many different avenues, because don't freak out about everything. It's like, okay, I need to have the conversation first. That one makes the most sense. There's no point in going in and filling out an application right now if I haven't even had the conversation with my business partner. So it's just like lining up the things in the order they need to, and then it feels more figure outable.
Yep. And that's the game plan that needs to be built. But truly, honestly, I think the reason why we have been able to get to this point that we have, can you still hear me? For some reason that sounded like it wasn't working. Okay. Is because, first of all, I'm sold on the idea. Hopefully I've sold you on the idea with some of the stuff that we've covered. And remembering, everything is figure outable. When you come across a problem, there is a solution. So I threw together a few solutions to some of these questions, because these are the big questions, and they came up, or the big barriers, they came up when I was asking you guys about barriers. You don't really have money to invest in real estate? Maybe it's a partner. I mean, I can give you a real life deal. Just recently, the appraiser, Landon, was out appraising townhomes, some townhome, and found a property that was for sale by a company who's not very good at their job. I won't say it now because I don't want to get in trouble. But they weren't doing a good job marketing this property. It sat on the market for a few months, like in December. Guys, that was before things slowed down. This was in December. And he appraised the neighbor that was identical to it. Remind me the numbers. It was more than that, I think. I think it was more. Oh, no. I think we just negotiated him down. That's what happened. Okay. So, so he's like, hey, Kenya, do you have any buyers that want to buy this? It's way undervalued, and no one, for some reason, it's sitting forever. I didn't have a buyer. I did offer it to my buyers, and no one took. So I was like, I can't just let this sit here. Like, and I don't feel bad for this big company that buys houses like really low from people because they're taking our business and it's taking it away from the homeowner. So I'm like, well, fine. If you're going to be the one that I'm going to get buy under market for, then I'll do it. So I didn't have money, by the way, guys. We just bought like our dream home in November. So like we were like fresh out of cash. And we found this property and I put an offer in it. I didn't know how I was going to do it. I want to say don't do that, but I kind of want to say do that. Like I had my mentor. I had a mentor in when I first started getting into real estate investing that when I had something come up, he said, just get under contract. Just do it. Just tie it up. Make it yours. Man, I wrote the worst offer in the world. The worst. If you want to know who this company is later, I'll tell you in private. Because I think it's an opportunity that you might want to be watching. I put like $500 earnest money, non-refundable, like a week up until like a week before closing, and put it out like 5 weeks so that I could figure out how I was going to pay for it. Basically, yeah, worst offer in the world, under market. They were listed like 500. I think I went to 580. No, they were in the fives, weren't they? Oh, I could be wrong. I know, right? It was 495. We got it at 485. True story. True story. So we got it at 475. But here's the thing. We did not have money. So don't tell me you can't invest in real estate without money. We found a partner. We had a few different people that I thought about, like, okay, we could go hard money. Like we got it under contract. We looked at the numbers. Let's see here. If we go hard money lender, this is what it would cost. This is what the numbers would look like. This is how much we could make if it sells for this, if it sells for that. We spreadsheeted the crap out of that thing. Well, it was just me at first. I ended up getting one more. I ended up getting one guy. So, we were going lots of different routes, tried a few different, some said no. Some were like, no, we're not interested in that deal. We don't think it's going to work. Like, okay, that's fine. Move on to the next. And I mean, you do it 50 times if you need to. Go ask 50 different lenders. Go ask 50 different partners. Go. There are always options. It's just pounding the pavement. But we ended up finding a friend that wanted to buy it with us, and he had cash. Beautiful thing. And I'll tell you what, this actually went wrong because we took our sweet time buying it because we're like, oh, we're just going to let it appreciate a little bit, right? Well, we're now in a little bit of a market where things are sitting. But he decided he wanted to keep it. So in the end, basically things didn't, like in the end, we bought it. We own it together with this partner. We were going to turn around and sell it. That's all we were going to do. We were just going to sell it and make like 50 grand. The market started to change. So we're like, oh shoot. So this happens. But the good thing is there are multiple exit strategies. He said, well, I can keep it as a rental. And we're like, well, we're not in the cash position to keep it as a rental. We just spent all of our cash. So he just paid us out the difference. And we made 20 grand. Yeah, my $500 earnest money turned into $20,000. Yeah. And this is recent. This is fresh. This just happened. There's no reason you couldn't do the same thing. So that was just one kind of a derailing of money. There's partners. There's seller financing. Tony, go ahead. Yeah.
My business is built on relationships with agents. That's my business. So what I do is I like to go out and support open houses. Somebody might be having one or whatever it might be. And I always run into either open houses that are not open because the agents never showed up. And you can look in there where the agent just doesn't give and you can tell that these homes have been sitting for a while. So there's always deals out there. But like you said, you just got to go hit the pavement. You've got to go out there and you've got to either, like I call it, shake hands and kissing babies and just find the spots, So I totally agree with you on that.
Opportunities are out there, guys. So there's private money. Maybe you have, someone, maybe your grandma who just sold her house. She's got lots of money that she's stowing away. He's not paying attention. Private money from your grandma who just sold her house that she bought for $20,000. There's all these niche loan programs. Maybe you can do a no money down. I mean, generally, if you're just buying an investment straight out, you're going to have to put a down payment. But again, these are just options. We've got lots of tools to solve the problems. Loan assumptions. That's actually a big topic right now. Some people have properties out there that, oh, actually, I know that Tammy has one right now in Daybreak. It's a condo. What was it? Two-bedroom condo in Daybreak. Really nice. It's a VA loan. Wait, do they have to be VA in order to assume it? Oh, Tony. Oh. It was like a 2.75 or something really low. Though I have to be just straightforward. One of the issues with this is you still need cash if you're going to do a loan assumption. But I mean, there's always things that you could figure out because you need to pay the difference right now but just another tool in the man. The lender really, really wants me. Hopefully nothing terrible is happening. Sorry, Tony. Yeah, luckily it's not. That's right. So the deal, where are you going to find the deal? You got to pound the pavement. Like they're not always just going to drop in your lap. Sometimes they do. You get the word out, talk to people, let them know you're interested in buying real estate. It's just like looking for prospects as agents. Keep talking to people, drive for dollars, go look around for those not cute houses. Go look for the opportunities. I mean, this is probably like overridden like completely with investors, but there's pre-foreclosure list. People are about to lose their house. That's probably not a great one right now in the current market, but you just keep your eyes and ears out and get creative. Find ways to look for deals for houses to buy. I thought I saw a hand go up. Skill, man, this is the most overcomable thing. If it's education, and I'm going to point you to all of my favorite resources of what I devoured when I was getting into real estate investing. There's endless podcasts, books, webinars, mentors, partners. Just practice running numbers. Like that's another thing that you can do to improve your skill, to understand how they all work together. And then mindset. I mean, I think the biggest thing on this one is who you surround yourself with. I've noticed there's areas of our social circle that are like, oh, that's dangerous. That's scary. Why would you do that? Are you scared now that you have a couple mortgages? How's that going? Is it really overwhelming? And then there's the other people who are just killing it. Like, oh yeah, that's totally possible. You can do that. Here's how I did it. Surround yourself by the people, the can-do attitudes that believe in real estate or that have already overcome all of the problems and know that everything is indeed figure outable. Okay, resources. I even put a little, oh, that thing needs to move. These are wrong computer. These are the resources that catapulted my real estate investing. Specifically, that first book, the green one, The Beginner's Guide to Real Estate Investing, that's the one that issues the challenge to start to buy your first property in the next 12 weeks. So I love it. I even reached out to that author recently and said, thank you. And he emailed me back. And it was really cool to kind of go full circle and be like, hey, look, this is what I've done since you issued that. And part of the reason that you just need to get started and do it is that's going to reassure you that it's possible. And it's just, kind of that habit circle. And again, if you just scan this, it'll just take you to a doc where I put links to like Amazon where you can buy all these books. Millionaire Real Estate Investor. I mean, anything that Gary Keller puts out is amazing, so it's worth a read. I'm mostly in love with the green book just because it was the first one that I ever read and because of the challenge. If you don't have money and that's your barrier, the investing with no and low money down gives you 100 ideas of all of the different ways that you can get started without having money in your pocket, and kind of it digs deep into those. If you're going to be managing rental properties, which I was, and I was kind of intimidated by that fact, the book on managing rental properties was fantastic to help me understand how to not just do it, but how to do it well and how to start setting up a system from the beginning instead of fumbling my way through. The other probably big resource that really catapulted my success, I guess, in real estate investing was the Bigger Pockets Real Estate podcast. Speaking of the can-do attitudes, to combat the people who were telling me that this was a scary, risky endeavor, I was listening to this Bigger Pockets podcast. And if you go way back to the beginning, they basically just interviewed investors. That was kind of the format, was just interviewing investors. So every single day I was immersing myself with people who had found huge success in real estate investing and that were sharing the things that they'd learned, the strategies that they were employing, the things that they were doing, that all my mind could believe anymore was this is possible. So I would highly encourage it now. They've kind of shifted their format now. It's really kind of, they focus even on like building a real estate investing business, which I think is awesome as well. But if you're just trying to surround yourself with ideas and kind of open up possibilities in your mind, then I would go to the earlier episodes. And then if you're like me and you just have 100 things that you want to do at all times and it's hard to focus, the one thing that we talked about a little bit earlier with Gary Keller and Jay Papasan kind of really helps you see the big picture and understand how to be effective in getting results. And I guess the last most important thing, oh, dang, I have this clicker in my hand, is just the reminder that you can do it. If I can do it, you can do it. I meant to touch on the fact that I'm just like this lowly, humble person. I didn't come from money. I didn't come from wealth. I didn't have this wealth building mentality. I kind of just stumbled upon it and have been able to, grow in my mindset and in my belief about what's possible by just doing it. So don't let small thinking cut your life down to size. Think big, aim high, act bold, and see just how big you can blow up your life. So I'll stick around if anyone just wants to chat more. I think we'll end the Zoom. I don't know who okay, he'll figure that out for us. So anyway, thanks guys. If you have questions, always feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to talk real estate forever. So thank you.